dreaming right now of going to Kansas City. And here in the West region, they are matched in the same bracket with the Southeast. So the survivor here will play either Oklahoma or Villanova. And game one's at Dandy. The Wolverines of Michigan against the Tar Heels of North Carolina. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. I'm Brent Musburger. Michigan and North Carolina, great basketball game, but the game within the game, a lot of them here tonight. We've got some superstars for you to pay attention to. How about the splendid point guard, one of the great defensive players in college basketball at Michigan, number 25, Gary Grant. On the other side, for North Carolina, their leading scorer and rebounder, sophomore J.R. Reed, number 34. And the eyes of the Olympic coach, John Thompson, will be on both here tonight, seeing if he wants these two fine young men to go on the United States team to Korea. But Billy Packer, first things first. We got Michigan and North Carolina, Big Ten ACC, two glamour teams here.
They really are, Brennan. They've been two of the power clubs throughout the country for so many years. You know, #1 rankings. But you know what? They have not been to the Final Four since '82 when North Carolina went, and it's been back in the '70s when Michigan got there. So it's been a long time. They'd both like to move forward.
Billy, a couple of injuries I want to ask you about. Let's start on the North Carolina side. What about Jeff Lebo here?
Jeff Lebo has a very, very sore ankle. It's a stress fracture. He's going to go. There's nothing they can do for it with the exception of rest, and obviously he's not going to rest now.
On the other side for Michigan, their scoring ace, Glenn Rice.
Glenn Rice is in better shape. Although his ankle's bothering him a little bit, he says he's almost at 100%. He should be able to go okay.
One of the things we'll see tonight, if they go to a zone on the Michigan side, the North Carolina passing game, Billy.
Yeah, they really do. The triangle, the North Carolina triangle works so effectively. Here you see Williams, 42, moving out to the side, and then Bucknell and Reed will take that triangle to overload that side of the zone. If they don't have anything inside either place, they look to swing the ball or skip past the ball back to the outside, and then they take up their positions on the other side of the court with the overload. It's very effective.
All right, let's go to Don Gillerman now and meet the starting lineups.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Kingdome in Seattle for tonight's West Regional semifinal game between the Michigan Wolverines and the North Carolina Tar Heels. And now let's meet the starting lineups for Michigan. At forward, a 6'7" junior from Flint, Michigan, number 41, Glenn Rice. For North Carolina at forward, a 6'6" junior from London, England, number 20, Steve Bucknell. For Michigan at forward, a 6'10" sophomore from Romulus, Michigan, number 52, Terry Mills. For North Carolina at forward, a 6'9" sophomore from Virginia Beach, Virginia, number 34, J.R. Reed. For Michigan at center, a 6'9" junior from Grand Rapids, Michigan, number 35, Loy Vaught. For North Carolina at center, a 6'10" sophomore from Hacienda Heights, California, number 42, Scott Williams. For Michigan at guard, a 6'2" sophomore from Cambridge, Massachusetts, number 21, Ramil Robinson. For North Carolina at guard, a 6'5" sophomore from Staunton, Virginia, number 22, Kevin Madden. For Michigan at guard, a 6'3" senior from Canton, Ohio, number 25, Gary Grant. For North Carolina at guard, a 6'3" junior from Carlisle, Pennsylvania, number 14, Jeff Lebo. And introducing the head coaches for Michigan in his 8th season, Bill Frieder, and for North Carolina in his 27th season, Dean Smith.
Coming up now, it'll be Michigan and North Carolina. Then later out west, it'll be Arizona and Iowa, live on CBS.
Ever since your post office invented express mail.
But this year, it is the West Regional semifinal here tonight on this Friday evening. The Tar Heels of North Carolina and Michigan advanced to take on the Tar Heels by beating Boise State closer than anyone imagined. Then they got it rolling against Florida. For the Tar Heels, in their opener in Salt Lake, they beat back North Texas State. Then they impressed everyone in the manner that they defeated Loyola Marymount. It's been a high-scoring tournament so far, Mr. Packer. What do you make of it?
Well, and I think we're going to have a high-scoring game here. I think really the key is to see Mills and J.R. Reed. Although they won't be matched up against each other, Mills has got to start off well. You'll see Bill Frieder use a lot of people against J.R. Reed, probably putting Vaught against him early on, trying to wear him down.
John Clardy, the referee. His umpires tonight are Dan Crispin and June Stupin. Tapped again there by Williams. Over to Michigan in their dark traveling uniforms. This, the general, number 25, has been bothered by a groin muscle. Reported a short time ago that it feels much better. Robinson, his running mate, is 21. They get it into the improved Loy Vaught and back out to Rice, who's the satin smooth scorer right. Grant penetrates, gives it up, wanted Mills, who couldn't track it down, and the first turnover goes to the Heels. It was Kevin Madden.
North Carolina's been keeping everybody under 40% field goal shooting percentage of late, and they really showed good defense on that occasion.
That passing game of Carolina, keeping the ball moving now, trying to find the open man. This time Williams keeps it on the turnaround, and as he rose in the air, he was fouled by Vaught.
Foul is on number 35, Loy Vaught. That's his first
Brent,
personal
straight
foul.
man-to-man by Michigan on the inside that time. Williams, who's developing into a very good outside shooter. One thing we noticed yesterday in practice, remember when he hurt his shoulder? Well, on that opening tap, it looked like he hurt the shoulder again a little bit.
2 shots.
First point of the evening.
And we know about the adversity that struck this young man early on this season when both his parents passed away. He's done a tremendous job coming back under that mental adversity.
And he puts Carolina up by 2. North Carolina's basketball program, so good we take it for granted. 8th straight year that Dean Smith has brought the Tar Heels into the Sweet 16. Now, there's a lot of talent on this Michigan team. If you haven't seen them yet this year, Grant missing and Madden after getting a turnover. Now, with a defensive rebound, they will hound Lebo because of that injured ankle. There, they try to trap him over here, and he gets the ball into Madden's hands.
Gary Grant has to be careful of those solid screens in the backcourt area. Here it is, Mills and J.R. Reed went after each other in a high school All-American game.
And they keeping Reed outside that time. He could not get down into the blocks for his shot. Williams, and it's rejected. Slapped back out.
That was Glenn Rice coming from the weak side. Sensational block. J.R. steps outside, gets that motion to get the good low post position.
Misfire from the perimeter, but an offensive rebound. And it's a turnover. Violation is not controlled by Michigan. Now let's take a look at Rice's block that Billy described for you.
May have been a little goaltending there, but great help from the weak side.
And right away, Mark Hughes checks in for Michigan, and Loy Vaught sits down. Hughes, the junior out of Muskegon, and Kansas leading Vanderbilt by 13. Barry Brown doing a good job, and of course he has got the sensational Danny Manning going for him.
Bucknell, a great defender on Rice. Matchup of quickness right here. Madden ought to have a problem with Robinson.
Score the field goal. He'll come up to the line. This is Romeo Robinson with a chance to complete the three-point play.
In pure quickness, Robinson is going to have a big advantage in this ball game on Madden, although Madden is very strong. And also in the case in the backcourt, Grant ought to have a big step on Jeff Lebo.
First personal foul.
Neil Robinson attending the same high school as Patrick Ewing did in the Cambridge, Massachusetts area. Did not play last year because of academic troubles. Good penetrating guard.
Good pressure here.
Ball into the hands of Madden. Now J.R. Reed to help out. Lebo back to Madden.
North Carolina loves to attack that press. Gary Grant getting by with a foul.
This is a very aggressive Michigan defense inside so far. Something to keep an eye on is down underneath the basket. They've got to try to get J.R. Reed into it if they can. He's strong and he's quick. Draws the double team and has to get it back outside. They ship it back to the big fella. He wants one. And it goes to Michigan on the miss. Their defense pivotal here early. Now it's Gary Grant pulling up. Short. Run down by Ramil Robinson with that athletic skill of his.
Robinson, a great leaper, very powerful, and there's Grant over the back.
Draws his first personal foul.
But I think that Robinson, as time moves on, will develop into the great guard that he was in high school. He had a hard time getting started this year with that year layoff, but he has such great athletic skills to be a defender, a rebounder, and also a pretty good scorer.
Both teams are cold here in the early going, perhaps a little tight. Carolina 0 for 3, Michigan 1 for 4 from the floor. A graphic there on your screen. Now let's see if they can pound the ball in on the inside. Michigan not giving anything away. So from the perimeter, Madden uses the glass. That's that shot that John Wooden made, the old Bruins practice. Use the glass when you're out there on that wing.
Well, that's the advantage North Carolina has because Madden's got about 3 inches on Robinson.
Robinson gets in with the trees.
Great shot. Not afraid to go in there with that upper body strength of his.
Now it's Williams pulls up at the free throw line. Perhaps not a shot that Coach Smith would want. J.R. Reed muscles this one. He'll shoot a pair of free throws. Well, you talk about guns. How about Arizona? Michigan playing here. North Carolina. And, of course, Iowa. The shooting percentages of these 4 teams. Arizona to duel Iowa later tonight. We have the first, second, and third seeds here. Carolina's the 2, playing the 3. Arizona's 1, and Iowa 5. Eliminated UNLV. So the talent still exists here in the West region. And coming up next, many of you will be watching that Arizona game.
It's interesting to see those team shooting percentages. I remember the days when if one guy shot over 50%, you had a hot ball club.
Close early.
Robinson can blow by Madden.
Just sort of toying with him back there as they set the offense. Now Grant will run it. He glides to the glass. They're shooting layups. Both Ramil Robinson and Grant have gotten to the glass now their last 2 trips against this Carolina defense. And Dean Smith will substitute.
Now there's something that Scott Williams is starting to do very proficiently. He stops at the top of the key and he'll take that jumper, which really extends the defense, which makes it tough to double up on Reed inside.
He's taken 2 of those shots, Billy, in the last 40 seconds. Stolen now. Here's Bucknell. You mentioned his defensive prowess. Giving it into the hands of Lebo. They have to be very careful of Lebo. He burned them for 16 in last year's tournament game. They stay at the perimeter. The 3 is not there. Loose underneath. Who wants the loose ball? The first one goes underneath the Michigan. And Ramil Robinson loses the dribble, and it is picked up on the move by Grant. Here he comes again.
You really get the feeling that if Michigan would want to get into the break, they'd have an advantage to go on the break with the great quickness that they have in the backcourt.
That's 2 fouls on Grant here early, however. They have called that foul on Grant. So that is the first mini turning point of this game, if you will, and we'll be right back. Billy Packer said it best, like a couple of heavyweights, these 2 are feeling each other out. But this is a pivotal moment. Jeff Lebo steps in and takes the charge here. We didn't have a good view of it originally, but you can see a wise play by Carolina. They specialize in that, Billy.
They do. They draw the charge very well, and probably one of the first teams to do it effectively in the country many years ago. And Gary Grant with his 2nd foul, that really hurts Michigan because he's going to have to sit down very early in this game.
Mike Griffin, number 20, checks in. Ramil Robinson is there. Vaught has returned along with Rice and Mills. So that is the Michigan lineup now as Lebo brings it up on Ramil Robinson. And Frieder must consider how long he will leave Grant on the bench, whether to slow down the tempo here. It has been a perimeter game for Carolina so far. They've been unable to get inside. They continue to fire away on the outside. But underneath, that belongs to the Wolverines right now. That was Terry Mills yanking that one away.
Well, so far, Mills has done a good job preventing Reed from getting position on the inside. Not a good shot.
Now Mills sort of forced that one. Griffin scoops up the bouncing ball, and Michigan gets a second opportunity here and a fresh 45. Griffin whips it over to Ramil, and they dump on the inside. This is Vaught.
Inside defense has been great so far in this ball.
Robinson hits from the perimeter with 8 points here. A three-pointer by Ramil Robinson, and it's a 10-8 Michigan lead. Momentarily, the audience watching Kansas and Vanderbilt will be joining us. I understand they're at halftime, and Larry Brown and Danny Manning handling Vanderbilt in the Southeastern Conference in the first half.
You see they stay right with J.R. Reed. They double team. Here's Rice over. Somebody's got to be open for an easy jump shot.
J.R. struggling to get into that scoring column if he can right now. And it is basically a perimeter game. Nothing doing on the inside. What a night Manning is having already. 25 points, 12 of 15 from the floor against Vanderbilt.
You know, the last man put a team on his back like that was Larry Bird when he took Indiana State all the way to the finals.
Vaught saved it, Billy, but the pass wound up in the hands of Lebo. Remember, he's playing with that stress fracture in the ankle. Now J.R. will try one from the outside because he can't get down to his favorite spot. He loves it on the blocks with his back to the basket.
J.R. is going to take a rest. I'm not so sure that he has a little mental exhaustion early on in the ball game because he doesn't look quick down in the low post.
Substitutions for Michigan.
No, Hughes coming back. They're running a sequence. Frieder here with his strategy. Now it becomes rather obvious. He's going to run a sequence of big fellas out after J.R. Reed. He used Vaught. Hughes was in for a while in Mills, and now they've forced him on out of the game. So Dean Smith goes to his bench, which is not unusual. Rick Fox, number 44, is in. Welcome those of you who are at halftime of the Kansas lead over Vanderbilt. Here we have a West semifinal in the regional, and in the white, their home white, North Carolina, they have been hard pressed by this Michigan defense that you're watching right now. They have kept Carolina on the perimeter. J.R. Reed, the Tar Heel star, is over on the bench. He was frustrated, but still in all, Carolina only leads it by 2 points. Gary Grant, the Michigan star, is out right now with 2 fouls. We have 12 minutes first half. That's been the Tar Heel game, and they're misfiring from the outside. That was young King Rice firing a miss there. You can see the shooting percentage for Carolina, only 18% against this Wolverine defense. Billy, perhaps you can give the fans a little overview of the strategy here so far.
Well, so far it's been Michigan very good defense, particularly down in low against J.R. Reed. And, of course, in the case of Gary Grant with his 2 fouls, that's put Michigan hurting a little bit on the offensive end of the floor because they're missing his penetration. North Carolina substituting very liberally, and they got caught the last time down the floor not taking a shot by the right people.
Now Williams has used that spot. Here comes Robinson. He wants Williams. Great play by the sophomore guard from Cambridge, Massachusetts.
But you see that he put his body right in to Scott Williams, preventing Williams from having an opportunity to block the shot. Very good move on his part.
Coaches in the Big Ten will tell you the key to Michigan is the first 5 minutes. Which Michigan team will show up? Bob Knight said that's critical with them. If they come out with fire in their eyes, you could have trouble. They've got a lot of talent on this team, but if they play soft, then you can get it inside. Well, so far tonight, the Wolverines have played with that fire. Can they keep it up? Fox bangs the home run.
Here's a three-pointer. Here's a freshman that's coming on very well. Now, Ramil Robinson is bent over right now. He is very, very tired. Gary Grant's going to come back in the game along with J.R. Reed. Griffin doesn't see the ball coming.
So the 2 consensus All-Americans due to check back in soon, if you will. Carolina gambles, and Rice burns them. That's a 3.
Three-point shot by Glenn Rice.
North Carolina has a funny ball club on the floor right now. Not one that would be a real good scoring team.
And they elect to bring some seconds off the clock. There's just nothing going underneath here against Michigan.
They're actually playing right now without a postman at all. Just a lot of internal screening. Nobody looking for the shot.
Certainly not there. They whip it around. They'll try Fox with a 3, misfiring. I believe that Michigan will let them shoot 3s all night if that's what they want to do. So when you come back, big J.R. Reed and Gary Grant will both be on the floor as Chilcutt leaves for the Tar Heels. We've got a timeout in Seattle. Reed in North Carolina. The question always is, what's next, J.R.? And that's what I asked him.
next for me is, hopefully winning the championship here in college and maybe an Olympic shot. But as far as pro basketball, I have no intentions of leaving school. That's something that got started with I didn't know anything about. And I plan to be here 4 years and playing some good basketball, hopefully.
For JR right now, it's the problems of Michigan. Only a pair of free throws. He comes back after spending some time on the bench. And so Billy Madden is out there along with Fox. Rice and Lebo has returned. Lebo and Griffin collide. And Griffin is going to be called for the foul over there. Off the ball. That's his first. That's the 5th team foul. And the first on North Carolina is Bucknell, the defensive ace. Returns and Fox sits down. North Carolina shooting only 3 of 14, and again, those of you back at the Atlantic Coast Conference so familiar with Carolina, you're probably surprised, Billy, at how difficult it is now for the Tar Heels to get the ball inside here to JR.
Well, I think what North Carolina's got to recognize is the double team on JR on the inside. They're putting 2 men on him anytime he touches the ball. He's got to look to give it up onto the weak side.
Now, Michigan shooting 6 of 11, or 55% at the start of this game. Come down the baseline. They've been getting to the glass. Mills misses that time. Manpower advantage here for the Tar Heels.
They got the ball in the hands of a man that didn't want to shoot the ball, King Rice.
Now, North Carolina's had only 1 field goal in its last 8 possessions. That was that 3-pointer by Fox. So it's been a struggle here.
You notice they give JR the jump shot anytime he's 15 feet facing the basket. He's got to look to take that one also.
Now Bucknell will take his shot. Griffin rebounds, and here come the Wolverines. It is an offensive struggle so far for the Tar Heels.
They are shooting blanks. That ball was shot far to the left.
Now let's see what Michigan can go with its half court. Rice elects to take it from the outside. Madden rebounds it. This is Rice. Quickly up the floor to Lebo.
There's the double team.
And they got the ball out of bounds on it, too, as Mills quickly came. Mills was something to prove tonight as Ramil Robinson, after a breather, checks in, and Griffin will sit down. Robinson returns with 10 points. He's 4 of 5 from the field, and now Williams comes back in for Coach Smith.
That'll shift Madden back into the backcourt again. And again, what's happening, Brent, is Mills is gaining a lot of confidence by shutting J.R. Reed down so early, and he knows he's getting that weak side help, so he's not afraid to go after it.
Yeah, sometimes the cover boy will bring out the best in the challenger, if you will. Down away from the ball again, and Williams is being whistled this time. That's his 2nd personal foul.
Number 42.
Now, prior to this game, look at what the Tar Heels were shooting.
Of course, they had that 80% against Loyola Marymount, but you're playing it against a different caliber of athlete, particularly size and strength down inside in this ball game. North Carolina goes zone for the first time.
I don't think there's any question about the talent on this Michigan team. There's a question about cohesiveness and what Bill Frieder will do, if you will, in the tournament. They have always wondered what kind of a tournament coach he'd be. It's a big night for Coach Frieder. Mills high in the air. Williams yanks down the miss. Now there's Reed trying to get in on the blocks. That's Vaught banging him down there, number 35. You want to see the game within the game. That time Mills came over, and now JR with a chance to complete the 3-pointer.
That shows you what kind of strength he has. Vaught weighs about 235, Mills about 240. JR fights one off in one respect and then takes on the other one and still gets it in the basket. Does he have some strength or not? This is a tough, tough play. Mills can't believe it. And JR will go to the foul line a few times if you don't watch him. 215 times this year.
So with the 3-point play, it's a 1-point Michigan lead.
By going zone, it ought to help North Carolina rest a little bit on the defensive end. I think they've been worn down a little bit by this inside attack.
Now Rice continues to move, waiting for his shot. Michigan's standing a little bit right now. So Ramil Robinson fires up a miss. And now Carolina looking a little bit more impressive. Michigan was flat-footed that time. Quickly inside, and Chilcott puts it away.
Now what's going to happen against this zone? Rice is going to have to touch the ball. Here he is. Brent, they didn't look for him last time down the court. He is a great perimeter shooter.
Well, they trade leads right now.
Here's Rice again, double teaming.
JR first looking for the pass. Now he puts it down and goes for that sort of jump hook, and Rice rebounds.
Did you see what happened? Bucknell is wide open, and he's got to understand that Rice is not guarding him when the ball goes in the post. So he ought to look for an opening. Great backdoor cut.
Robinson got in too far, drew the foul from Chilcutt, but couldn't hit the field goal. He was underneath the net when he attempted to wrap it around. So a reminder, later tonight we got a couple of games coming your way. Purdue, the Boilermakers, the top seed in the Midwest, matched against Kansas State. And then here our second game will be Iowa, Arizona. A lot of fans on hand from the Tucson area. And Rice sits down for the first time in this game. He missed practice yesterday because of that sprained ankle. Also, this is a very young Michigan team. Robinson will be back, as will Rice. They do lose the general, Grant, and that will be a big loss.
You know, for North Carolina, Brent, Ranzino Smith, the only senior on their ball club. So two powerhouses that will stay in the top of college basketball next year.
Wouldn't that be something if the two of them met right here in the Kingdome next year at the Final Four?
It's a possibility.
There's the vastness of this arena you can see in the background. The Seattle Seahawks of the NFL play here. Also the Seattle Mariners. They're preparing now. Spring training base. They'll be coming up here to play Major League Baseball. It's a great city for this West Regional and also the Final Four.
With JR out of the game, that puts some burden on Williams to do something in the low post. He's got Mills on his hip.
They're leaving the free throw line available for that shot to help double out the big men. And now Williams goes down to the baseline, moves his spot. He scored 6 points here in the first half for Smith.
Bill Frieder is giving up something, and it's going to be interesting to see how long it takes North Carolina to recognize, and that is when the ball goes to the low post, it can be hit back to the foul line or weak side area.
Mills gets it off beautifully underneath.
Oh, great scoop.
The basket by Gary Grant.
That's Grant's second field goal here in the first half. That was a nice pass by Mills. Williams tries to regain it, and he drew the second foul from Mills. And they're shooting 1-1 as they go over the limit.
Brent, have you seen two teams of late that have been this tired this early in the game? And the reason for it, in my opinion, is that they haven't faced this kind of power going against each other in as big a moment. And I think they're as much mentally exhausted as they are physically exhausted. And they're having to substitute heavily. There you see Mills sitting down.
And look at the Bucknell wiping the sweat off at the other end. You bet. Now Madden returns for Coach Smith. Lebo out there on the floor for the Heels.
In pure numbers, North Carolina probably deeper, but the rotation that Bill Frieder can go to should keep everybody pretty fresh out there. As long as he can keep Grant from getting that third foul here in the first half.
Frieder, with that foul discrepancy, will probably work on the referees a little bit. At 7-2 here in the first half, we've got 5:48 to go. He can't be too happy about that. Carolina, good free throw shooting team, great on fundamentals.
Well, both of these clubs shoot well. Michigan shoots 73% from the foul line as a team. North Carolina changes defense, now picking up full court with their three-quarter court with a little man-to-man.
Here's Rice. Missing.
Madden, who's normally started out as a forward, doing a good job rebounding from the guard spot.
Fox hands it to Williams for the layup.
Second time Michigan in the last 3 times down has been beaten on an easy play. The North Carolina pushing the ball quickly.
Time remaining first half here in Seattle. Griffin, who's back in the game, tosses it into the corner, and Grant is short.
Nice push off that time by Rice.
Michigan not getting to the glass. They draw the foul that time. That was Hughes, who was fouled by Madden. They're not getting to the glass, Billy, like they were about 3 or 4 minutes ago. So Dean Smith's defense a little bit tougher down on the interior.
You know what I think happened, Brent? When they went to the zone, all of a sudden Michigan got to be a perimeter team, and they haven't said, hey, wait a minute, when they're back to man-to-man, let's go inside and try to score a little bit.
Here's how Michigan has done against teams that came to the Sweet 16. Beat Iowa, which we'll play later, but they lost twice to Purdue. Interesting enough, Iowa lost twice to Purdue also. Now, as for Carolina, against the Sweet 16 teams. They beat Richmond, and they lost to Duke 3 times, if you will. And oh, did they want that last one. Dean Smith never gone to the Final Four if he hasn't won the ACC tournament. That omen, and he lost again. And, of course, the Blue Devils will go tomorrow in that East Regional Final that you'll see here against Temple. That'll kick off a Saturday afternoon. A great basketball for you. We're tied.
A Midwest battle between Vanderbilt and Kansas, and it's still the Danny Manning show. Just underway in the second half. Danny Manning starts off the way he ends the first half with a three-pointer. 28 points for Danny Manning, and Kansas has a comfortable margin over Vanderbilt. Let's go back to Seattle at Brent Musburger.
All right, James, thank you. So Danny Manning having a great night in that one, Billy Packer. Here our 2 All-Americans have struggled a little bit, but you get the feeling now that J.R. Reed is slowly moving into the rhythm of things here. We're tied at 22 right now. Michigan in the dark. It's Carolina's possession. That's J.R. out high.
They're giving J.R. anything from 15 feet on in, and there's a over the back. Just putting the body on him. Not a bad job. Bill Frieder can use 10 fouls from Hughes and Vaught on the inside and still have Mills left, so it's not a bad maneuver defensively.
Yeah, if I was Frieder, I'd be a little bit happy, too, about the foul count here this half. Coaches like to see that even out, if you will.
Well, one of the reasons that he's not getting the foul line is his team has been playing a perimeter game offensively. In order to go that line, you've got to get it inside some.
Reed's not shooting well tonight. He's only 1 of 5 from the field. He misses the front end right there, and an opportunity to put the heels ahead. Neil Robinson having a splendid first half.
Oh, what
Boy,
a
is he
shot.
sensational. That's 13 points for Ramil.
His high for the year, well, actually for his career, is only 19. That was against Ohio State. He could beat it here in the first half. Boy, J.R. really posting up strong now. Great hustle by Gary Grant.
And back they come. Robinson pretty good with that ball, too. Ships it across, and Grant was out of bounds. As I say that, fires a bad pass across court.
Well, nobody came back to help him, and Gary Grant was all the way across. It should have been a situation where Griffin would have stepped out. He could have had an easier pass. J.R. is really battling for position now, Brent. Though he's stepping out on their little offensive play right now, he is ready to get position.
Fox gives it up. Ranzino Smith missing. And Madden hits it off the Michigan player, and it'll be Carolina's ball. Bucknell returning for the Tar Heels. Fox will sit down.
Also number 14, Jeff Lebo.
Also, Jeff Lebo has returned to run the show here with senior Ranzino Smith leading.
You can see both coaches trying to keep their team fresh and play this first half just to get to the second and stay close.
Kansas routing Vanderbilt in that one. Manning with 30. Purdue later against Kansas State, and also right here. Got Arizona and Iowa. There's a nice cut by J.R. Reed.
By J.R. Reed on a feed from King Rice.
Get the feeling this one's going to stay tight all the way, Billy.
I really can't. I don't think either team really has a feel for how they want to attack yet. And I think that's going to be the key in the second half, is which team can get to their offensive game plan. So far, this has been strictly a battle of defense.
That's his first personal. Against the 15th.
And here's how they have shot here today. Far below their season average. 4th best in the nation. Tops in the tournament. But facing a much more difficult defense here this evening. Now it's Rice. And Reed yanks away the rebound. Whereas operating Lebo is more or less a shooting guard right now. Here they find him.
Constant, that's an illegal screen by Lebo.
Move away, the travel call is made. That's the 4th turnover by the Tar Heels. It'll be Michigan's ball.
Brett, one of the great things about basketball is for players to know what the defense is doing to them and then be able to react. There's Ranzino Smith in there, and what JR is not doing is understanding what the defense is giving him so far in his ball game. Carolina goes back to their 2-3 zone. Little matchup here. Look for Rice to get open on the perimeter.
being kept outside. Now Grant's three-pointer, and Reed was still another rebound.
You notice how Michigan doesn't try to go inside at all every time they see that zone. 4 men on him.
And still, he came up firing. Time running away here in the first half. Grant puts it down beautifully, but there is a whistle as he came around the corner and he drew the foul. He knew he was matched against Lebo one-on-one, and he went to work. Lebo slowed by that injured ankle. It's going to be very tough for Lebo to stay with him on that first step. He came around him, and Lebo fouled him. Mills returns for the Wolverines.
And they're back there with that starting lineup now.
Griffin will sit down for Frieder.
And can go the last minute and 46 seconds. Nice substitution pattern that time by Bill Frieder. He's got all his horses in there. Double screen for Rice. Beautiful.
And he hit the jump shot off it, coming to the baseline. That's 8 points for Glenn Rice here in the first half. And Michigan leading as the result by a deuce. Lebo hits the three to put the Tar Heels up by 1.
Oh, and Jeff Lebo tripped over Granzino Smith's ankle.
And Ramil Robinson goes down also. So it's not just basketball we'll be covering here on CBS this weekend. And the road to the Final Four, 1:30 Eastern. And this will all be preceded by the World Figure Skating tomorrow at noon. See Katarina Witt and Debbie Thomas. I guess, Billy, you told me you liked Katarina, didn't you, in that one?
Is that an indoor sport? Well, Ramil Robinson having a great first half, and he has picked up all of the slack in regard to the offensive needs. He's also been playing the most minutes in regard to his ability to stay out there defensively. Smart move by Frieder, putting Grant down not to pick up that third foul.
Little cat and mouse here with Dean Smith and Bill Frieder, if you will, in the first half. They've sort of been the stars of the show, shuttling players in and out.
North Carolina looking to bring the ball up quickly, try to get a delayed fast break.
JR puts it down.
Got it blocked.
Got a tough go, and another one rejected and out of bounds.
Dean Smith wanting a goaltend there, but that was a good job on the inside by Vaught. He and Rice have really helped out from the weak side. JR is wondering where all these bodies are coming from.
Inside of a minute left here in the half. This is a fresh 45. Bucknell screening for Lebo, who comes all the way around, and now they try to pound it in, and Lebo gets it right back.
Good pass.
Into Bucknell on the inside, who's fouled by Robinson. That's his first personal here of the half.
And Brent, although that was not what I was talking about as far as Reed, there was a case where because they thought Reed was going to get the ball, nobody was guarding Bucknell inside, and a good look by Lebo.
Kansas continuing to lead, and that would put them in the Midwest Regional Final if that holds up against the winner of the Purdue-Kansas State game coming your way later tonight, and also the Arizona-Iowa game. Two teams that met earlier this year, and it was a 6-point win by Arizona. Grant returning.
Here we see the weak side help. They got a little piece. Vaught got a little piece of Reed's shot there, and then it was an easy putback by Madden, but watch that weak side help with a great block.
Tied at 28 with 40 seconds to go.
Nice smile by Bucknell.
He grew up in London. Came to the United States to attend prep school, played a lot of soccer, and he would like to go back home to London and become a sportscaster over in Great Britain.
North Carolina picks up full court. Now with Grant back into the ball game, North Carolina like to press because they figure Michigan trying to hold for the last shot of the half.
Grant gets it across, almost intercepted. Rice saves it beautifully to Lebo. And he's fouled. Robinson guarding him, fouls Lebo.
Great play by King Rice on the steal and the save that he made. King Rice, a great three-sport athlete from Binghamton, New York, comes over there and shows he was a tremendous running back, a great baseball player, and obviously an outstanding basketball player, and there's the foul.
So in the closing minute of the first half, King Rice, the freshman, turns in a key play. The Tar Heels leading by 1, and Jeff Lebo can add to it. He is a marksman. His father is the high school coach back in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. That team's still in the playoffs, and he's got a dandy playing for him. Billy Owens will be at Syracuse next year.
If you go through the brochure and you see Jeff Lebo as one of the best free throw shooters in the nation, the athlete he admires the most is an old teammate of mine named George Lehman, which may really shock you with all the great Carolina players. It does. But George is a great shooting teacher. And Jeff is one of those guys that's followed it to the letter of the law and one of the great free throw shooters in the country now.
Kevin Madden checking in, and Chilcutt sits down. This is the biggest lead of the game for North Carolina. 3 right now. We have had here in the first half 13 lead changes.
No, I think that Frieder should take Grant out of the ball game here, because Gary Grant's the kind of guy who's going to try to put it and drive all the way to the basket. Be the kind of person you could draw that charge on.
They get it into Robinson's hands. He's been the top gun for Michigan. Power slam by Rice. 10 in the first half.
Expect North Carolina to go to 1.
Lebo, end of the first half. A 1-point game. Let's take another look at that power slam coming down. Ramil Robinson gets it and saves it, and now sets up his teammate.
That was a sensational play.
You bet. End of the first half here. The West Regional semifinal, North Carolina 31, Michigan 30. Our coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship is sponsored by Michelin.
Welcome back to New York. Jim Nance along with James Brown here in Studio 43 on the other coast. And what a big first half there by Ramil Robinson. 15 of the Wolverines, 30 points, half the total, but it's North Carolina by 1. Let me take this chance to remind you, tomorrow we have a special for you. A couple of special programs, as a matter of fact. 12 noon Eastern, World Figure Skating Championships. We'll have the men's and ladies' short programs at 12 noon. The coverage will continue at 8 o'clock. Prime time coverage from Budapest. Boitano against Orser, Witt against Thomas, the men's and ladies finals tomorrow. World Figure Skating Championships here on CBS. All right, back to basketball. We see North Carolina leading by 1 over Michigan, but in the Midwest, it's really been a one-manning show tonight. Kansas against Vanderbilt. Danny Manning doing it all.
One-man show indeed. He's having a great first half. 25 points he scored in the first half. He's got 30 now. C.M. Newton, the coach of Vanderbilt, as I mentioned before, said that he wanted to play the great players one-on-one. He had to make an adjustment on Manning. In the second half, he showed some zone. Right now, Kansas is leading by a comfortable 15 points, 59-44. The key there, the Kansas teammates are picking up the load. Let's check in on that game out at the Silverdome with our announcers, Vern Lundquist and Tommy Heinsohn.
See that what Michigan has decided to do is to put 2 men even from the weak side. Now, when the ball goes down to JR, he has to understand that he's going to be double, and in this case, quadruple teamed. Obviously, the Carolina players cannot afford to just stand still and let him operate inside. They should offset a little bit, giving him a passing lane. I'm sure Dean Smith went over that during the halftime.
Yeah, he was only 2 of 8 in the first half, Billy. So CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship will continue live from Seattle after this message and a word from your local big basketball coach. John Thompson is here with his former roommate from the Boston Celtics, Bill Russell. Thompson obviously just asked Russ if he had any Olympic eligibility left.
Well, you think the last time here, John was smiling in this arena, too. He won his national championship here.
Jeff Lebo starts the second half at the point. He did in the first. This is Williams on the inside. Draws the foul.
Again, North Carolina going inside. That's why they've been on the foul line in the first half. They were 11 for 12. They're going right back there early here in the second half.
That's the first on Rice in this game. Michigan shot 7 free throws in the first half, making 5, and Carolina shot 12, hitting 11. We mentioned that depth perception and that three-point struggle on the part of the Tar Heels. Maybe you can see this from behind Williams. Yes, you can. Up there, there's real vastness when you shoot into a dome. An empty space up there. I've seen NBA players even struggle in there for a time shooting. Once they get accustomed to it, of course, they don't pay much attention. But it is different. Different background for the athletes.
Good
almost stolen by Williams. Got back. Great pass over here now to Vaught. Carolina wraps it up. Quickly to Madden, and they get into the corner now. Williams is out there with Lebo. Madden, J.R. Reed, number 34, is back to you. He struggled mightily offensively in the first half. Double, triple team.
You notice when North Carolina sets screens inside, they leave the fist in the air as they're setting the screen.
They turn it over on the travel. That's the 5th Tar Heel turnover tonight, and Dean Smith obviously indicating that he was pushed, and that's why he traveled.
You know, Brett, this North Carolina team this year has turned the ball over in regard to their turnover assist ratio more than any Carolina team I can remember ever. But it's an extremely young ball club. They go back to the 2-3 zone again.
Grant has been struggling too with his shot here tonight. He's only 2 of 6. This is Rice.
He doesn't struggle.
Great rhythm shooter, isn't
he? He really is. He is just a tremendous all-around player. Mr. Basketball in the state of Michigan. Sensational player. Williams got to look to take that jump shot out there because Michigan's not guarding anything at the top of the key. See how far off they are from Bucknell?
Where they make Reed.
He's wide open under the basket, and Reed never looks for him.
So Bucknell comes out now, takes it himself, and Reed calls the dribble a miss. Williams couldn't tap it in. Now Grant will come out on the dribble. Right down the middle, and he misses. Mills with an opportunity to break into the scoring column. And the Tar Heels come back, and Williams injured his right shoulder for North Carolina. He'll be late coming into the play. A miss by Lebo. Williams is injured. He's back on defense. Grant quickly gets it to Rumeal Robinson.
Good pass.
Robinson on the penetrating move. And Mills with his first points of this game. And a bad pass. It'll go over. Now Bucknell gets up. Williams still in pain. It's the right shoulder.
Williams had that shoulder get popped yesterday in practice. And when he had the initial jump ball in his ball game today, he showed some injury. And now Bucknell is sitting on the bench. It looks like he's hurt his ankle.
What a devastating few seconds here for North Carolina. Williams injures a shoulder, or re-injures, if you will. And now Bucknell out. So Lebo is out here with Smith. Chilcutt has checked back in.
Lebo really having his hands full with Gary Grant. He's just going right around him with the dribble.
Well, Grant can't put it away, Billy. He's 2 of 7 with his shot here tonight. This is Fox, who also checked in.
Got a good screen inside. That time Mills got hung up behind Reed.
On a feed from Jeff Lebo.
Kansas going to advance to that regional final in the Midwest, and bang the run that time, Glenn Rice.
Rice had a 40-point game this year, and I think that he starts sensing right now that he can score at will against the North Carolina matchup.
Well, that's where Michigan would like J.R. Reed to stay all night. He's out there at the top of the circle. Now they get it into him. Took a shove, came off it, and hit the field goal.
Basket by J.R. Reed.
Terry Mills wondering where Rice was that time to help out a little bit.
Robinson, good penetrating move.
Robinson and Grant are just going right by the North Carolina guards.
Reed sends it back to Fox. Franzino Smith.
I think that surprised Rumeal Robinson to see somebody try to penetrate on him for the first time in the ballgame.
Keep an eye on these guards defensively now. Maybe you can pick up what Billy's telling you about it. Grant passed it that time. Loose ball, Carolina.
Smart play by Lebo, blocking out Vaught, who couldn't get to the ball.
Lead pass now to Fox. Ranzino Smith again.
A three-point shot by Ranzino.
He hits the three. Tar Heels set their defense. That zone that they have employed here. Rice.
Good block out by Fox.
With Williams' aching shoulder, watching from the Carolina bench.
By next year, JR will take a jump shot from there if they're going to leave him that wide open.
And Fox puts it away. Good run here by the Tar Heels.
Bill Frieder going for the timeout.
Michigan needs a timeout as the Tar Heels open up a 43-39 lead without two of their starters.
Jayhawks in command with a minute to go. We send you back to Seattle.
Michigan brings it up now. Carolina's on a 7-2 run over the last 145. This is Robinson. Penetrates. He has carried the offensive burden with 19 points here tonight for Coach Bill Frieder. And the dribble is lost. Rice wisely caught it and stopped on the outside. So he will set the table here for this lineup. Reed is out there with him along with Madden, Bucknell, and Ranzino Smith as Lebo and Williams are now out. We get word from the bench that Williams injury not serious. Madden fouled.
That's Grant fouling his for the third time, and he's matched up against Madden, who, as I said, is normally a guy that was set to be a small forward, and Grant can't handle him inside.
Personal, it's the second team foul on Michigan.
So that's something that North Carolina, it's interesting, they have different mismatches, and putting some ice on Scott Williams' shoulder over there. He looks like he's in a lot of pain, Brent.
Welcome those of you who are looking in and leaving for a short time. That Kansas lead over Vanderbilt right now. North Carolina at the free throw line here in the West Regional semifinal. Michigan in their dark road uniforms. It's 45-41. Carolina leading, and now they have the ball as the result of that Robinson turnover. The 7th turnover by Coach Bill Frieder's team. For the newcomers, Billy, give them an update on what's going on here.
Well, I think Bill Frieder has coached a masterful game defensively because he's really taken J.R. Reed out of the game down and low, but he's given up a lot on the outside. North Carolina has not taken advantage of it. And for Michigan, it's been all Ramil Robinson and Glenn Rice offensively.
J.R. Reed just passing it back to the outside. When he tries to get down in the blocks, they'll muscle, hit him with two, seal him up with sometimes a third man. So it's been a struggle for the All-American.
He can take that foul line jump shot, and that'll free him up. Rice is not playing Bucknell at all anytime he moves outside of anywhere except under the basket.
Rice ships it to Madden. Griffin watching him. Here he is coming inside the double team for the field goal. 11 points.
This is a small team that Michigan has on the floor right now.
Fired up a three-pointer, and as Hughes came in, the foul goes against Michigan. That is the 3rd foul on Hughes.
J.R. Reed down inside. Now watch. Hughes has him from the backside. Here's Griffin over to help out. Rice comes, the triple team. Even Grant's over there to get a piece of it. J.R. makes it anyway.
What made that play work is the fact that Gary Grant, with foul trouble, he's playing with 3, could not close him off completely. He had to let J.R. go. He didn't want to risk picking up a 4th foul with 13:35 to go. The Tar Heels with a 6-point lead right now. That is their biggest of the evening.
Mills comes back in. It makes Michigan big enough to handle Reed inside. Madden's quick. A lot of interior screening. A lot of bodies being hit in this game.
Manning having a huge night for the Jayhawks.
Bad shot by Bucknell, and he hits it.
It's a three-pointer.
He wasn't even ready to shoot that, but the 45-second shot clock was winding down to 7.
And it's Hughes with the offensive rebound. Mills has not been a factor offensively here tonight for the Wolverines at all.
Gary Grant's got to look to penetrate with the dribble more, Brent. He's standing still.
So Mills steps on the outside. Now, he's a good outside shooter. Down by 7. And it'll go over. There's a foul being called against the Tar Heels. The second on J.R. Reed. He was trying to get set. And he committed the offensive foul. And he will sit down right now. Lebo, Ranzino, Smith on the floor. The Tar Heels picking up their shooting considerably in the second half. Bucknell, Madden, and Williams out there. And the one player that you would think now the Wolverines would look a little bit more to is Mills, instead of relying completely here on Rice.
This is the man I think that needs to get moving is Gary Grant.
And Robinson hits. He's carried the load tonight, 21 points.
It's the high of his career. And a lot of time to play.
So 2 quick scores by Michigan, and they're back to within 5. Williams will return with that end of the shoulder, makes a power move, and there's Rice's third. Splendid rejection underneath the glass, if you will. Now it's Grant, sealed up again on the outside. Good position defense by Lebo, who's giving away a lot of speed. Now Mills bangs in his second. There's the big fella, and watching him shoot, he's got a terrific perimeter shot as Kansas goes on to Sunday and the Midwest Regional Final. Welcome those of you who watched Kansas advance in the Midwest. Here we've got a tight one in the Midwest. 50-47. North Carolina with the lead. They're wearing their home whites right now. J.R. Reed checking back into the game. He has scored 11 points for the evening, and it has been a tough double and sometimes triple teaming defense by Bill Frieder that has slowed him up as Vaught 35 returns. So here in the Kingdome in Seattle, along with Billy Packer, I'm Brent Musburger.
Brent, one of the things we're seeing is liberal substitutions in this game. I think both coaches recognize that the interior pounding that's taken place really wearing down both of these ball clubs. No backdoor cuts available for North Carolina because Michigan just not coming out on the perimeter to stop the jump shot, so there's no lane for the backdoor.
And so Lebo hits it too.
Two-point shot by Jeff Lebo.
That jump shot's there all day long.
Underneath the glass that time, I thought J.R. Reed was attempting to qualify for WrestleMania. Robinson foul. Fox got him. Well, that's Williams. Check that. Let me correct that. That's Williams, and that's his third. Let's check the bracket now that Kansas has advanced in the Midwest. They'll play the winner of the game that will start right after this Michigan game. That's Purdue against Kansas State. And then Temple will be playing Duke. That's a game tomorrow for the East Region Championship. The Midwest will be played on Sunday, but you can see that they're in the same side of the draw. Who do you like in that Duke-Temple game, Billy?
I don't know. It's tough to prepare for John Chaney's zone with just one day, and I think losing Smith hurts that bench from Mike Krzyzewski.
Now, here's the bracket where the West winner will go, and I must tell you that every time I see Coach Billy Tubbs' team, I am more and more impressed. Now, hats off if Raleigh Massimino can pull off another one, but he's got his hands full with that Sooner bunch. Wow, do they look good. Lebo taking the pass. This is Fox. He's firing, and Rice. Strong rebound.
Remember, Emil Robinson can bench press 235. That might be one of the reasons he's so anxious to take it down inside. Really strong, having a great game tonight.
He is a remarkable story. Worked so hard on his academics last year to stay eligible. Jamaican-born youngster. Struggled all his life, really, until a couple adopted him in Cambridge. I'll tell more about that when I get a moment. Here he comes again. Yes, sir. Emil Robinson is on fire, having a game of his life. Well, I've got a moment, and I mentioned him. He was abandoned at the age of 12. Actually moved from family to family. before he was adopted by Helen and Louis Ford. They already had 5 children, and they raised him. And he's a fine young man. They can be very proud watching back home in Cambridge, Massachusetts tonight. Jump hook by J.R.
Good team movement by North Carolina that time to free up J.R. He's had no chance when he gets in his stationary low post, but every time he's moving, he seems to do all right. Here's a clear out for Grant, but he doesn't look to take it.
Leave him open underneath, and Hughes burns them. His first field goal of the night, pulling the Wolverines to within 1.
There's Gary Grant picking up a foul on the backdoor cut by Levo.
A terrible place to pick up number 4.
North Carolina changed their offensive set that time, a little bit of a 1-4 type set. It really made Grant vulnerable over on the weak side.
Bill Frieder must consider taking Grant out now at the 9-12 mark. When we come back, we'll have that story for you. Well, the sites of the 4 regionals, and yesterday at East Rutherford, New Jersey, Temple blew away Richmond. Mark Macon with 24 points. And Duke marched to the regional final. So tomorrow at 1:50, that's the start time. Our coverage starts at 12:30 though tomorrow. Villanova plays Kentucky, Birmingham, Louisville, Oklahoma. So it'll be Villanova, Oklahoma in that final. All right, let me show you this foul. And really, this is just silly when you're playing with 3 personals. Gave him a shot up to the neck as he was coming back door down. There was no question about the foul. 4 points and 3 assists. And Grant continues to have problems in NCAA tournament play, if you'll recall. There's quite a saga to that through the years. He is a senior. There's a 3 from Ransino Smith.
What happened was Griffith was guarding him. Ransino Smith set a screen. Griffith fell down. Ransino realized he'd had no defender on him and wisely got out in the 3-point area. A lot of pressure on Robinson right now, Brent, because he's going to be asked to handle the ball as well as do the scoring.
He traveled. Leaning in, he traveled and turned it over. Loy Vaught.
Frieder looking to pick up a little half court. Looks like a 1-3-1 trap he's got going here. First time tonight. Good cut.
Madden on the move.
Beautiful play by the University of North Carolina.
Puts him up by 6. Mills outside. He's hit 3 now from the perimeter.
North Carolina spreading things out a little bit. They've been playing very tight down inside. Now they're spreading it so they're getting a little bit more movement on these cuts. Robinson almost got another steal.
Madden's been very active. He gets it back to Fox, and then Levo very quickly to J.R. And there were 3 defenders ready to collapse on him. He comes outside, puts it down on the floor and off the dribble with the miss, and Fox fouls Hughes, his 2nd personal. Boy, it's been a frustrating night for J.R. Reed.
Brent, that clock again was working down, and North Carolina didn't have themselves spread on the floor to get good action going there.
It's like the entire defensive game plan was conceived with J.R. Reed in mind by Bill Frieder.
No question about it, and he has given up a lot to cover him, and yet North Carolina has not taken advantage of it. That's really J.R.'s responsibility.
Mills got it into the passing lane, and Ransino Smith was standing there defensively.
Well, Vaught didn't take up the slack. It was a pretty good idea by Mills, and if Vaught would have gone to the hoop, he'd have had a layup.
Michigan without Grant, sideline with 4 personal fouls. Ransino Smith's miss. Run down by Ramil Robinson, who has played a great game here tonight.
He's pushing it right up court.
What a great play.
Basket by Ramil Robinson.
North Carolina, with Grant out of the ball game, has got to do something to pick Ramil up, because Ramil's just taking it right through the court. He feels he can beat anybody one-on-one with that dribble, and so far has been able to get away with it.
Around by Williams.
He made a shot similar to that last year to beat Virginia in the ACC
just thinking
tournament.
about that shot.
Wasn't that something? Out of nowhere, just a...
Was that an overtime shot or got him into overtime?
Yep.
Weird-looking shot went in.
Here's a clear out for Robinson.
Away from the ball, and that's Bucknell, white 20. So at the conclusion of this CBS tournament game, Billy, you and I will select a Chevrolet Most Valuable Player from each team. Chevrolet will donate a $1,000 scholarship to the General Scholarship Fund of each school to further assist qualified students in all chosen academic fields.
Glenn Rice has been a little quiet of late. Glenn, he hadn't touched the ball very much. With Grant out of there, it's really Ramil Robinson and Rice that they have to count on to get their scoring.
Robinson being fouled. Rice trying to keep him under control, not let him penetrate. You know, this is an interesting team out there, the way Ramil Robinson is playing here tonight for Coach Frieder. Because once he gets that penetration going and he starts to hit the big fellas with some passes, they could even be more lethal.
Of course, he has to stay out of there without a rest, too. That's got to hurt him going down the wire. You'd like to have him rested.
Now JR with that spin move. It would have counted. He'll shoot a pair of free throws. That's 2 on Vaught. Well, we're watching Michigan at the Big Ten, and the Boilermakers of Purdue. They beat Michigan twice. They'll be up against Kansas State. And in here in the West, we'll follow up with Iowa, Arizona. Looking forward to seeing that Arizona team for the first time in person here tonight. Watched them practice, and I'll tell you one thing about that squad. There is great cohesiveness in Arizona. It'll take a team performance to beat that bunch.
Brent, one of the things that they do so well is recognize what the defense tries to do to them. They have 5 guys, all of which they can score. And if Michigan, as an example, would try to do what they're doing in North Carolina, I think they would really have taken advantage of it long before this.
5-point Tar Heel lead. They're playing on top right now. 5:40.
Neal like to drive again.
Rice runs it down.
Boy, Robinson showing great stamina on both ends of the floor.
They're going to send Grant back in with 4 personal fouls, however. Going to let him close it out here in the 5 minutes. Could be his last 5 in a Michigan uniform.
Guys are so strong in upper bodies, you can't even set screens down in low.
Oh, they collide. Lebo and Williams got confused. They get it back.
Oh, what? You talk about nobody wanting the ball. Big accident. North Carolina survives.
Just like Dean Smith diagrammed it.
you know, he's won a national championship in Seattle as a player.
Played on a Kansas team.
Club, right? They
Griffin
beat
is
St.
out
John's. Coached by the team that he succeeded. Frank McGuire.
Rice. Now Michigan firing up some blanks from the outside and fouling underneath, and Frieder checking that scoreboard.
A lot of time left, particularly if Grant can get into the game and do something offensively. He has been very quiet. I don't think his selection has been good of when to pass and when to go with the ball.
So he is back out there with 4 personal fouls for Coach Frieder. Grant is out there with Robinson, Rice, Mills. Off the miss, Robinson yanks it away.
He's
Long
everywhere.
Rebound. A question about the MVP for this Michigan team tonight. Now let's see what Gary Grant can get going here. Rice rejected, runs it down.
You can see Lebo with just that foot, just not enabling him to move.
And a turnover. It'll go to North Carolina. We've got a timeout here in Seattle. 4:14 to go when you come back. Packer, I'm Brent Musburger. Money time, 4:14. North Carolina with the lead, 64-57. And the General, Grant, struggling for the Wolverines. Only 4 points here tonight. His low mark for the season is 7 against Arizona. Arizona will be next up in the West. They'll be matched against Iowa. In the Midwest, it'll be Purdue, Kansas State. How much improvement has that Kansas State team shown this year? They'll need it. They were blown out by 29 points the last time they played Purdue.
Michigan picking up full court.
And Rice commits a foul.
Every time Lebo gets in any kind of traffic at all, you can see him trying to avoid getting that foot step on.
Foul is on number 41, Glenn Rice. That's his
Timeout
second
situation.
foul.
Both coaches seem to have plenty there. Foul to give on the Tar Heels' part. And a possession arrow in case we get a tied-up ball situation. We'll go to the Wolverines with King Rice, the freshman from Binghamton, New York, who's turned in some good minutes here for the Tar Heels tonight.
You can see a little substitution pattern. Dean Smith wanting defender in here now. Nothing but net. 14 straight years that man has put a team in the NCAA tournament. 8 Sweet 16s.
They are the New York
records.
Yankees. College basketball, if you will.
I really think Gary Grant has got to get the ball and do something offensively, Brent. He's been so quiet in this ball game. His judgments have not been there.
Mills takes charge.
Basket by Sherry Mills.
That's 4 straight jumpers for Mills.
Now it's a 7. And defense becomes so important here. J.R. Reed being tracked by Hughes. Hughes lets him go on the outside. J.R. doesn't even look for that jump shot out there yet. Now he wants it on the blocks against Hughes.
He likes where he is right now, except for Rice coming over to help, which means Bucknell's wide open.
Bucknell was out at the top.
See, Bucknell has to understand what's being done to him right now. There he goes.
On the drive, Lebo's got it.
Great
Fresh
block.
45.
Sensational play by Mills to help out.
Knocked out of bounds by Hughes.
North Carolina ball.
Here's Bucknell taking it inside, using the left hand. A beautiful play by Mills coming over from the weak side. That's about the 3rd or 4th one tonight that Michigan has gotten help from the weak side on a spectacular block. King Rice, a lot like Robinson, a very powerful upper body and tough to steal the ball from him.
Bucknell shoots the 2, and for Dean Smith, a big moment now at 2:50. They're up 68-59.
Lebo asking to come out of the game now. He's very tired. He's going to get help from Ranzino Smith.
Michigan has forced some shots here in the second half from the perimeter. And Grant is a three-pointer.
Timeout for Michigan to score. North Carolina.
So Frieder uses a timeout, one of his 3. We'll be right back. Eastern time. The first game you'll see will be the East Regional from the Meadowlands. Duke against Temple. That should be a dandy. Then later the Southeast Regional. Massimino will attempt to tempo that Oklahoma team. And in prime time tomorrow night, the World Figure Skating Championship. Free skating undoubtedly will be on tap. .230 to go now, Billy. It's a 6-point North Carolina lead. They have played very intelligently, even though their star has faced some difficulties down on the inside. They've had a lot of depth here against Michigan, and it's been another premier performance by the Tar Heels, but Michigan is not out of it. And if they turn the ball over like that, the Wolverines will jump right back in this way.
Well, Brent, as I pointed out earlier in this telecast, this North Carolina team has thrown the ball away more than any Dean Smith team, and Jeff Lebo, being exhausted, couldn't stay out on the court, although Dean Smith's going to get him back in there now. So it was a club without a real lead ball handler.
Great steal this time by Rice. He read it beautifully. Here he comes.
The referee thinks Ramil Robinson's hurt, so that's why he's stopping the clock here. Robinson went down pretty hard. Big turnover for Michigan on that play.
You know, that is several times here in the second half. The Carolina players have stepped right into the passing lane, anticipating exactly where the ball was coming.
Well, again, I think that Grant has been hesitant. He got the solid screen. He needed to go ahead to the hoop, but he just has been looking to make the pass, not the shot. Awful.
Rice hits that three. 20 points for the game, and a timeout now. It's a 5-point Tar Heel lead. Boy, with that 3-point shot, you get back in a hurry, don't you? We'll be right back. Becker with 1:59 remaining. What to look for here?
Well, first of all, Bill Frieder only has one timeout left, so he's not going to be able to stop the clock at one more time. He's going to go with his full court pressure here. The last time the North Carolina team threw the ball away, but Lebo was on the bench. He's back in the game right now, despite the painful foot injury, and it really has slowed him down today, but it's been a gutty performance on his part. There's that full court pressure. Nobody taking the man out of bounds.
Into the hands of Branzino Smith. And Griffin comes over and commits his second personal. What a difference here. And part of that must be attributed to the coaching staff. They saw what Michigan was doing defensively. They went for a higher percentage shot in the second half. And the Tar Heels have ripped away, and they enjoy a 5-point lead as the result.
Remember the last time we saw this team in the regional final? I believe it was Raleigh Massimilian in Birmingham.
Didn't we see him last year against...
Oh, that's right. That was a regional final,
sure,
too. Yeah, that's right. I got Raleigh on my mind down there in Birmingham, one of his best cities. Another three.
Hughes coming up over the top commits the personal foul, going very aggressively to the glass, and that'll be his fifth. He's out.
Well, he worked hard. He'll be sore if he goes to sit down. He's been banging JR all night long. Only had 1 point. Did a lot of work inside against those solid screens. Well, you've got to consider, in the case of Michigan, you've got Grant and Rice are the primary three-point shooters. And if you're North Carolina, I would, first of all, considering the night, really spend some time with Rice the next time down the floor. You can't let him have a three. Nothing but net, huh?
You know, he's been such a great player at Michigan. You just hate to see somebody like Gary Grant close out his career in this manner. He's had tough times in the tournament in the past. And the Olympic coach, John Thompson, taking a look at him here tonight. Here's the Michigan future. I'll tell you, Ramil Robinson gets it into Mills' hands, also part of that future. Rejected. Tar Heels are in command here, folks.
Well, there's a case of judgment on King Rice's part. No place to go and no need to be in a hurry. Great block in the side. And there, for the first time, for a little weak side help by North Carolina on the shot block.
Williams, a great shot blocker. He's going to be a huge factor down in that middle with J.R. Reed.
Now, Bill Frieder can't use another timeout yet. Got to be somebody wide open.
Bad pass by Williams. Robinson hammered by Williams.
That should be intentional. Now, what happened?
Frieder's screaming for an intentional foul over there on the side. Frieder can't believe it. He's furious.
Now, what happened here? Bucknell is wide open on this particular play, and nobody looks to throw the ball long. See Bucknell wide open down here. Nobody goes. I think this is an intentional foul. When you come from behind a man, not with any chance whatsoever to block the shot, big play right there, because Michigan would have got 2 shots and the ball back.
2 shots.
Frieder's team has shot 10 free throws tonight, and North Carolina 24.
Bill better be careful. He doesn't need a technical foul here.
There's a graphic right there that illustrates, no doubt he hasn't got the best of the whistles. However, Dean Smith's team plays very intelligently, and so they figure to get to the free throw line. But it's been a tough night for Frieder.
North Carolina putting in 3 guards now.
because with 112, they're sitting on a 4 right now, and they cannot afford a turnover and a quick field goal. J.R. Reed helps out.
Not a bad foul, putting the poorest free throw shooter on the line.
Follows on number 20, Mike Griffin, his third personal.
Bucknell returning for Smith.
What Dean Smith's doing, he's got an offensive team and a defensive team, and Williams comes back in for defense, and then he'll use those guards when he gets in the offensive end of the floor. And you really, with 3 guards on the floor, there was no need for J.R. Reed to be handling that ball, Brent, and he wouldn't be in a position to be fouled.
Lloyd Vaught back in, and Griffin goes out.
He replaces Mike Griffin. J.R. Reed, 1-1.
Long.
And Carolina gets it back. There was the opportunity for the Wolverines.
Little 4 corners action here by North Carolina. Lebo wide open.
And they'll put Rice on the free throw line.
Follows on number 21, Ramil Robinson, his third.
Been an excellent free throw shooter this year.
King Rice, 1-1.
Oh, J.R. snuck inside position. Just as we saw in the Duke game last night when Bricky got that big rebound on a missed free throw.
Robinson fouled by Reed, and that's his 3rd personal. After a 7-point first half, he has come on now to score 11 in the second half. And a big tap in on a missed free throw down there by the North Carolina All-American.
Well, nobody from Michigan can fault this young man that's gone to the foul line. One of the better performances I've seen this year in a bruising-type basketball game. And you can expect a full-court press again. Michigan has to think about Brent fouling immediately now because they're down to 39 seconds. They can't afford to let North Carolina use up too much clock. A lot of talking on that lane.
And Williams comes off. So every big rebound here the last couple of minutes has gone Carolina's way. And still ahead of us, you'll see the Boilermakers, ranked #1 in the Midwest. They'll be taking on Kansas State. Then we'll be back with Iowa, Arizona. So Gary Grant fouls out with 7 points here in this West Regional semifinal.
Number 35, Lloyd Vaught, into the lineup for Michigan.
Well, he fouls out with the only Michigan player in history to have over 100 wins during his career. It's at all kind of assist records there. #2 scorer in the history of the school, but has not had good NCAA tournaments. Another offensive rebound. And you know on that one, Brent, if Williams hadn't gotten it, Reed would have.
And the Tar Heels are going to head to the West Regional Final on Sunday afternoon, where they'll be playing the winner of Arizona, Iowa.
Well, Brent, I'm gonna hold off on this one. 6 points is 2 possessions with the 3 if he were to miss this foul shot. So there's still enough time to get one off.
Well, for what I've seen, if he misses it, Carolina will rebound.
Another rebound.
Number 54, J.P. Osterman, down in the lineup for Michigan.
Well, Williams knew that ball was off to the left, and he took off as soon as it was legally possible to get after that rebound.
Scott Williams at the line.
All right.
1-1.
And when Bill Frieder looks back at this tape, he's going to see some funny bounces that took place tonight on some loose balls. Get that ball in Robinson's hands and let him go to the hoop.
Rice's three. Lebo with it. And the Tar Heels go to another regional final. So it's 78-69, the final score. James Brown will be coming your way when we continue with our live coverage of the NCAA basketball tournament on CBS in just a moment.
The second ACC team to do so. Duke, of course, last night advancing on. J.R. Reed with 18 points for the Tar Heels. However, the Chevy MVPs from this ball game in Seattle, Ramil Robinson for Michigan and Kevin Madden for the Tar Heels of North Carolina. Now,
break. Ramil Robinson comes down with it, picks up the loose ball and takes it all the way. He had a career-high 29 points. Michigan had a 4-point lead. Michigan stopped J.R. Reed in the first half. Watch 4 Wolverines around big J.R. He puts the shot up anyway. No, doesn't even get the iron. And Bill Frieder applauds the defensive effort. But the Tar Heels led at the half anyway. How could this be? 3-pointers from Jeff Lebo. 31-30 Carolina at the half. Second half, Scott Williams and Steve Bucknell hurt. You see them there on the Carolina bench. But the reserves come through. Rick Fox. You say, who? Rick Fox, 13-footer. Good. Across the lane, hits the pull-up. And J.R. finally got on track. Watch him. He's triple-teamed this time, and they forgot the fourth guy. And he goes in there, and he finished with 19 points. Carolina with the 8-point lead. But Michigan fights back to within 1. Ramil Robinson with the steal. He was a one-man gang, and guess what he's going to do? Michigan's still alive. But this was Carolina's night. When all was said and done, watch them run into each other. Who wants the basketball? Lebo doesn't want it. Lebo hates it back. He throws it to one of his teammates. He doesn't want it again. You take it, and J.R. Reed winds up with it. And this time, there is nobody on him. And so the result was predictable. Number 3 seed is out. Number 2 seed, the winner, 78-69. North Carolina advances to the Great 8. Rather after this epic battle, we sampled opinion from both sides. And Michigan coach Bill Frieder said that Carolina was just too tough inside.
I just think Carolina played very well. Their inside game really hurt us. They were tough in there. Scott Williams and J.R. Reed made some big-time baskets at crucial times, and we just couldn't get over the hump in the second half. We tried everything, trapping and fouling early and three-point shots, everything, and made runs, but we just couldn't get over the hump.
They keep surprising me. I thought we were very active defensively. I thought we did a better job in the second half offensively.
An underdog in a game of this significance.
And Dean Smith is loving it. Yesterday at the news conference, he said, oh, my, I just hope we can stay within 20 points of these fellows. Their assistant coaches, their players are all saying the same thing. We don't know if we can play with Arizona. This is a monster team. Meanwhile, Arizona at the other end, they've been calm, cool, and collected. You're going to be looking at a terrific team here this afternoon. Let's send you back to New York now and Jim Nance. Jim?
All right, Brent, so tip-off about 15 minutes away in Seattle. We know this much. 2 Big 8 teams are going to Kansas City, America's heartland. We've got a team from the ACC, Duke there already. Should North Carolina win today, that would mean 2 Big 8s, 2 ACCs. Of course, Arizona out of the Pac-10. How do you see this game coming up next?
Carolina's got his task cut out for it, no doubt about it. Injuries, as Brent mentioned, is really going to play a big part in that. But I look for Arizona to kind of pack it in defensive-wise to try to stop the inside game and force Carolina to beat them from the outside. Also look for somebody on Carolina's bench to really step up to the forefront, perhaps Scott Williams, irrespective of the fact of his injured shoulder.
All right, James, let's set the lineup for next Saturday here on CBS.
Kansas going against Duke, and Oklahoma will draw the winner of this game, the Tar Heels and the Wildcats. The winner is going to Kansas City. basketball fans down in the Carolinas. You're so familiar with that program, the General Motors, if you will, of college basketball. Arizona, the upstarts. One thing to watch. There will be emotion on both these benches. I'm not sure that I've seen a Carolina team show this much emotion under Dean Smith. On the other side, take a look at the Gumbies. Folks, I think the game was about 5 minutes old when they gave us this demonstration. Billy Packer, they sent over this Gumby for you today.
Good.
Now, what about these two fine schools?
Well, it's amazing, Brent. When you look over the Dean Smith program, and before that, Frank McGuire, the Carolina tradition goes on and on. 14 straight years in the NCAA tournament, 8 Sweet 16 situations. And Arizona, a team that has never been to the Final Four. This is as far as they've ever gone. But under Lute Olson, you expect that program to have many more years of success.
Well, we got two fabulous All-Americans in the game. One from each of the teams, J.R. Reed of North Carolina and Satin Smooth Sean Elliott of Arizona.
Two great ball players. J.R. utilizes space better than any big man I've seen in college basketball. He's has awesome strength, great quickness, tough to control inside. And Sean Elliott, as a one-on-one player, is really tough to handle. When everything breaks down for Arizona, which is not often, he can take it on his own.
Buddy, what are some of the things we should look for, expect here today?
Well, everybody talks about rebounding, but I think the possession of the ball is so important. North Carolina this year has turned over the ball quite a bit, as you can see right there. Arizona, they utilize the ball so well, very seldom turn it over. That could be important today. And the other thing that's got to give, Brent, this is unbelievable. Look at their shooting percentages and what they do to their opponents. They're great offensively and great defensively, so something has got to go.
All right, so coming up now, it's the West Regional Final. The Tar Heels of North Carolina and the Wildcats of Arizona.
CBS Sports.
Of this splendid city, and the Kingdome, which next year will host the Final Four. Inside today, some 25,000 will be on hand for this West Regional Final. North Carolina's road here. They beat North Texas State and Loyola Marymount in Salt Lake, and then Michigan Friday night. As for the top seed in the West, Arizona got past Cornell of the Ivy League, beat Seton Hall of the Big East, and then was very impressive against Iowa of the Big Ten. Now, to meet the starting lineups, let's go to Lou Gellerman.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Kingdome in Seattle for today's West Regional Final game between the North Carolina Tar Heels and the Arizona Wildcats. Now let's meet the starting lineups. For North Carolina at forward, a 6'6" junior from London, England, number 20, Steve Bucknall. For Arizona at forward, a 6'9" junior from Los Angeles, California, number 00, Anthony Cook. For North Carolina at forward, a 6'9" sophomore from Virginia Beach, Virginia, number 34, J.R. Reed. For Arizona at forward, a 6'8" junior from Tucson, Arizona, number 32, Sean Elliott. For North Carolina at center, a 6'10" sophomore from Hacienda Heights, California, number 42, Scott Williams. For Arizona at center, a 6'7" senior from Lakewood, California, number 23, Tom Tolbert. For North Carolina at guard, a 6'5" sophomore from Staunton, Virginia, number 22, Kevin Madden. For Arizona at guard, a 6'6" senior from Cloverdale, California, number 20, Tom McMillan. For North Carolina at guard, a 6'3" junior from Carlisle, Pennsylvania, number 14, Jeff Lebo. For Arizona at guard, a 6'3" senior from Pacific Palisades, California, number 25, Steve Kerr. And introducing the head coaches for North Carolina in his 27th season, Dean Smith. For Arizona in his 5th season, Lute Olson.
So Craig McMillan is the Arizona Wildcat and not Tom, and back with the game in a moment. Inside. This is a big-time officiating crew. Tim Higgins will be the referee. Richard Ballesteros and Jody Sylvester are his 2 umpires. We are set to go.
Well, Brent looked for North Carolina to try to go down low early and get on that foul line, which has been tough to do against Arizona.
Arizona controls the tap. They're the top seed, so they're wearing their home whites here against the traveling Carolina blue. This is Craig McMillan. He was introduced as Tom, who was a great star at Maryland, now involved in politics. Arizona's ball.
Open offense, straight man-to-man by the University of North Carolina. Lebo got caught on a switch on Elliott. Bucknell can't afford to do that often.
Elliott is their star with the knee brace, number 32. Kerr's the point man, 25. They wanted Cook, and Elliott turned it over on the traveling call. The first turnover here by the Wildcats as we get underway.
Brent, Bucknell's wearing one sneaker 2 sizes bigger than the other, so that might have been Bigfoot there stepping on Elliott. Zone defense by Arizona, 2-3. They give a lot of different looks.
See how Carolina will attempt to post up J.R. Reed. Dean Smith taking a careful look at Luke's defense right here. Bucknell sends it to Lebo. This is the 3 off McMillan's hands.
You notice North Carolina setting up their triangle offensively to try to work against this 2-3 zone. Arizona traps down in the corners. It's difficult to do much down there. They're going to have to go weak side to get Lebo that jumper.
Bucknell and Elliott exchanging a couple of words there on the inbounds pass. Bucknell playing with that very painful turf toe. Carolina not too sure how far he can go here today. The worst of their 3 injuries.
And if you're going to deploy Lebo, you ought to deploy him on the side over on Kerr's side because it's tough to get the jumper over McMillan. He's so big.
Kevin Madden, 22, ships it back. And again, Reed is boxed up on the inside. So now Lebo pulls it back out. Now he touches it. Quickly whips to Madden, and here's Lebo. And Arizona's defenders attack that ball so well. We noticed this against Iowa. They don't give you much shooting time. Now it's down to 5 seconds. They wanted Reed, turned it over.
That was just great recovery by the Arizona defense in that zone, Brent. They do a great job on the perimeter. I really don't see how Kerr and McMillan, with the exception of their experience, are able to move so well on that 2-3 zone.
Lebo picking up Kerr.
There's the switch again, and Cook has got Lebo all by himself.
Kerr. Rebound by Carolina. The 2 teams start out shooting tightly. Inside quickly to Reed. He's in on the block. Missed it. And they get only 1 shot. Now Arizona back. Elliott looking for daylight. Doesn't take much room for Sean Elliott to squeeze the trigger and get down the field goal. Reed turned it over on the travel. That's 2 turnovers now by Carolina here in the early moments.
That was a turnover that'll be charged to J.R. Reed, but that was a mental breakdown by Jeff Lebo because you shouldn't give the big guy the ball coming down out of control in that particular situation.
Tom Tolbert there, 23. He's the center. He can play out high. He's a good shooter, and he'll go hard to the glass. He drew the foul.
North Carolina is doing an awful lot of switching, and against a team that's as experienced as Arizona, they're going to take advantage of that. It's going to create a lot of mismatches, as we just saw right there.
Arizona has blown out 3 opponents by an average of 29 points in this NCAA tournament. That's why they came into this game favored by as many as 6 points.
Brent, 20 of their wins this year are by 20 points or more. That's hard to believe considering the competition.
And they have ripped teams early, too. Something that Carolina has to be very careful about. They get that 18-2 run going early in a game, and suddenly you're digging uphill against a team that does not turn the ball over very often. Arizona builds a 3-point lead quickly. They drop back defensively.
You notice how quick that back line was to get back. You just don't get any easy baskets by going up the court quickly.
Now, even though Lebo is playing with that stress fracture, they're going to need his outside game here this afternoon. Deflected by McMillan, and he'll run it down. Lebo lacking the mobility, could not go get it, and McMillan stays with it and banks it in.
There again, Brent's what I'm talking about. Lebo ought to set up on Kerr's side because McMillan has a great deal of size out there on that wing position. Now he's over with Kerr.
The lob into Williams.
Great back screen against the zone. Notice Arizona playing without a basic postman. Big screen that time by Tolbert.
And the first foul against J.R. Reed down away from the ball.
J.R. trying to hold Cook up going on that baseline after the screen.
Cook wears 00. Very quick. Sort of like a knife through hot butter when he goes to that glass. Somewhat unheralded and rather impressive the other night against Iowa. As is his whole team, by the way. And they'll hit the open man frequently. They'll pass up the shot under pressure to find someone who is more wide open.
See, there's the switch. J.R. gets stuck on Elliott.
Tolbert looks for the receiver, and it's McMillan. Underneath again. And this foul goes against Arizona.
Big blocking out on the inside. Good block out situation by Bucknell. Push off is called on the inside.
Against Anthony Cook, Billy.
Arizona gives a different look on that zone. See how Kerr plays it like a 1-1-3 and match up with you.
Carolina starts out shooting 1 of 3. Arizona 2 of 4.
North Carolina wanting to punch down inside.
They've turned it over again, attempting to pass the ball to J.R. Reed. That's 4 turnovers already by Carolina.
Jeff Lebo is not the type of guy that's going to turn the ball over often. As a matter of fact, he's gone a number of games this year without any turnovers at all. Little back screen by Cook. Oh, great screen.
That was Cook who threw it. Wraparound pass by McMillan. Now it's Tolbert. They got a hand on it. Carolina defense brings it down. This is Jeff Lebo, his dad. Congratulations. Carlisle, Pennsylvania won another state title back there. They beat a school from Pittsburgh last night. J.R. Reed couldn't get it down. Against J.R. Reed, his second personal.
And Brent, again, McMillan's size. You very seldom have a guard that is capable of going in there and rebound like McMillan. That's what forced the foul. You mentioned that state championship. Billy Owens went crazy again. And talking to Dean Smith, he thinks he's the most complete high school player he's seen in a long, long time.
Levy scored 54 points last night, and so the Carolina locker room was kidding Jeff Lebo. They said, we told you to recruit him, and you didn't. And, of course, he's headed for Syracuse next year.
Nice.
Steve Kerr gets in.
Great
now, he is fouled, and he'll step up to the free throw line. Lebo's first personal. That is 4 team fouls against Carolina and only 1 on Arizona. Now, this team out west doesn't get much respect, but take a look at how Arizona has done against the big boys, like the Big Ten. 5-0. How about the tough guys from the ACC? 1-0. They beat Duke down home in Tucson. The Big East, 2-0.
Notice Kerr on that last drive threw that shot up left-handed. And you know, Brent, when I look at Kerr, I think back at Louisville's national championship. They lost Milt Wagner the year before, and he had to sit out. Kerr sits out a year. Now he comes back as a 5th-year senior, brings all that maturity with him, and it may be very much like Denny Crum's club.
It's a 4-point Arizona lead, 6-2.
And they go man-to-man for the first time.
J.R. out on the bench, so Chilcutt replaces him. And this puts some pressure down on Williams in the blocks. And they will see if they can get him off. They could not read. Manzino Smith seen his first playing action. And now it's Lebo. Kerr came flying at him, but Lebo hits the 3.
Good screen by Ranzino Smith, and you can see the respect Lute Olson has for J.R. Reed. He goes man-to-man with Reed out of there. Great crossover dribble by Elliott.
McMillan traveled, according to the Carolina bench. They don't have the whistle. Turning shot, Chilcutt rebounding. Quickly to Ranzino Smith, the senior.
Williams can shoot that jumper.
Misses it, and all white jerseys surround it.
He has the green light to take that jumper from that point by Dean Smith.
In low to Tolbert, and he pushed off.
As quick as these big men on the back line are, you can't get those lobs in there.
So we're going to take a timeout, and that's the first personal on Tolbert. 6'5". That Steve Kerr missed all of last season because of this knee injury over at the World Competition. Watch him throw the ball somewhat awkwardly, and the knee exploded, and it had to be completely reconstructed.
I just remember just screaming, just rolling on the floor, and it felt I could hear lots of things just ripping up in there, and sure enough, I tore it up pretty well.
When he arrived back home in Tucson, he was greeted by several hundred followers of the Arizona Wildcats. He told me before the game that he doesn't even notice the injury once the competition begins, but the adrenaline takes care of that.
Brent, there's that 1-1-3 zone defense again. You don't see that often in college ball.
They're now using Fox, number 44. This is Ranzino Smith, an outside shooter, but McMillan got over on him. Strong offensive rebound by Williams. This is a critical part of this game for Carolina with J.R. Reed out. Williams must pick up that slack.
Scott Williams picked it up against Michigan the other day, led them in scoring. Very underrated player who's coming into his own.
Elliott wanted to pass. Great play there by Ranzino. Forces the turnover now for the Tar Heels, and they come down.
Ranzino Smith, the only senior on this team. There hasn't been a team with this little experience in Dean Smith's coaching career in about 20 years.
A familiar passing attack that Dean Smith always employs, trying to get an open cutter somewhere.
Fox will go one-on-one. Lebo needs a screen.
They get it in on the inside. Offensive foul is called. Ranzino was backing in on it. That's 5 team fouls against Carolina here at the 12:38 mark. And so with 2 personals, Dean Smith sends the main man back into the fray.
And that will not go unnoticed by Lute Olson. And he'll go back into that zone. You can be sure of that.
And Williams sits down and takes his first break against Coach Lute Olson, who has accomplished more in a desert than anyone since Rommel.
I like that line.
And he sends in Joe Turner, number 33.
Number 21, King Rice.
You know, Lute is one of those fellows, Brent, when he asked that question, who would you want to coach if you were starting a program that you needed built from the bottom up? He's got to be right at the top of the list in the country.
Took over a Pac-10 team that was 1-17 in the conference the previous year, and here they are now the dominant power in the Pac-10.
Nice job by Chilcutt. Moving those feet.
Cook.
I think he surprised Cook a little bit. Chilcutt, who had the great game against Syracuse at the start of this year, when both Bucknell and Reed were not playing on the team.
He's a 6'9" freshman out of Alabama, number 32, and this time it is Fox, another one of those splendid youngsters. He's out of Nassau, the Bahamas. He goes 6'7".
And he's matched up right now on Sean Elliott. He's got enough power to stay with him, but not a lot of experience.
If depth matters in the tournament, Carolina has an advantage there, but many coaches feel that at this time of the season, that's overrated. Cook gets to the glass, but no basket. He traveled.
Cook had excellent position on that as he got around J.R. Reed. He just got a little bit over-anxious. We can see the great defense by both of these clubs, and I was wondering, Brent, which percentage would hold up, and it looks like defense have been the constant because they're both holding their opponent down.
I saw something else, too. A little more emotion here early on that Carolina bench. The Arizona team a little bit tight over there on the sideline.
Problem on the perimeter now because King Rice will not look to shoot the jumper.
King Rice just shipped it in. Here's J.R.
The basket by J.R. Reed.
Great passing.
Carolina builds a three-point advantage. And Rice stays on Kerr, hounding him. He'll have a speed advantage in that matchup. Now Ranzino is out on McMillan.
Sensational defense by North Carolina. I don't think Arizona has seen anything this tenacious so far this year, including the Duke team that played them at home.
Yeah, and Lute Olson will have to counter against that speed in the backcourt.
Number 44,
Right now, he sends in Harvey Mason. And McMillan sits down. Mason gives him a little more speed because up against Ranzino and Rice, they'll need it. Tolbert back in, and Turner sits.
Mason has had 7 games this year in double figures when he only averages 10 minutes of playing time a game. It shows you how explosive he can be. There's that 1-1-3 zone again.
Four players off Dean Smith's bench now in the game, along with the main man, J.R. Reed. This is Chilcutt, the freshman. J.R. had a hand on it and couldn't get it. Now it's Kerr to the attack for Arizona.
Always have to be wary of him pulling up and taking that jumper. Elliott saw the lob.
Carolina trapping in the corner. They get it over here to Mason. Kerr, the three-point expert.
Now, that was a breakdown by Ranzino Smith. He has got to let King Rice play his man honestly and not leave Steve Kerr, who will just stay out beyond the three-point range and wait for that pass. Mark of an experienced team, boy, really takes advantage of something when you break down.
Jump hook by Reed. Winds up back in his hands.
Good job by Arizona there, pushing Reed maybe one step beyond where he likes to take that shot.
Kerr had a hand on it. Carolina's ball with 32 on the shot clock. And we're going to have a timeout.
Timeout.
Take a TV break and we'll be right back. 9:52 in the first half and we're tied at 9. One of the familiar faces to basketball aficionados on that Carolina bench is an assistant coach by the name of Dick Harper. He was the Kansas coach who took the Jayhawks and a Wilt Chamberlain fella on into a championship game in which they played 3 overtimes against North Carolina. And North Carolina prevailed back in 1957. What a year this would be. The 50th anniversary. Kansas is in, and North Carolina is trying to get there. That one of the more memorable championship games of all time. Here we are tied at 9. 9:40 to go. Williams is back in the game, along with Reed together now.
Nice. What happened there is Madden took up an awful lot of slack, and North Carolina's starting to find a little hole in that 1-1-3 zone defense.
Now, I mentioned Anthony Cook. He's been scoring 21 points a game in the tournament. He is scoreless so far. Carolina not shooting well, but Arizona also well under its average here this afternoon. It has been very aggressive defense at both ends of the floor.
Colbert wants his turnaround jumper.
This is Mason missing the three, and contact underneath, and it goes against Cook, his second personal foul. Reed with 2, and now Cook must play with 2, and Lute Olson may elect to rest him a couple of minutes.
Brent, you mentioned Kansas, and I think back, you know, they've had 4 different coaches that have led them to the Final Four. Larry Brown being the 4th, and you mentioned Dick Harp over there. Ted Owens, and of course, Coach Smith's great head coach, Coach Allen.
Joe Turner quickly returned. This game is not unfolding as so many of Arizona's have this year.
Madden's open on the side. He likes that target over Mason.
Kerr rebounded. Three-pointer by Steve Kerr. Is he amazing from out there?
He is shattering the national record by about 8% throughout the course of this year with that 3.
These 2 threes have the Wildcats ahead right now. Madden off a couple of fakes, wants to come with the offense. Reed was sealed up. Tolbert rebounds. Here comes Kerr again. This time the open man is Mason. And Reed gets back down for the rebound.
That's a smart choice by Jeff Lebo, making him pass the ball to Mason.
They wanted Williams. And it was hit by Arizona. Carolina's ball.
Turner touched it. What Williams wanted Madden to do to throw that ball high, not on a line drive. Williams is great getting back down court on the run.
Lebo sets the play. Good defense against J.R. Reed. Lebo bangs his second three.
That was great concentration by Lebo because Kerr did the right thing. He rushed right out on him, knowing Lebo very seldom explodes by with the dribble.
Magnificent duel between Lebo and Kerr.
There's the switch. Colbert's wide open.
They have kept Elliott very quiet here for a couple of minutes. He's number 32. He puts it on the floor. He can maneuver there. They double-teamed him, and there was a blocking foul against Carolina. It'll go against Bucknell, his first.
And, Brent, if we see Bucknell on Elliott, one of the things that Bucknell's doing so well, and we saw Billy King do it yesterday for Duke, when you're playing against a great penetrator like Elliott is, and he gives those super head fakes, you got to keep your feet on the ground and be ready to move. Let him have that jump shot to start off with, and that's what Bucknell did so well in that move, even though he picked up the foul. I don't think I've seen any player with those great penetrating moves any better than Elliott in quite some time. He's the All Pac-10 MVP, the tournament MVP. He's had a great season.
All right, Lofton leaves. Kenny Lofton is in, number 11, as Mason leaves. Let me correct that with Branzino coming back. And Madden will sit there for Carolina. Sean Elliott reminds some the young Tony Dorsett.
He's good in the open field, too. With or without the ball.
Deadlocked again at 14.
Lofton is great at stealing the ball, extremely quick. But it makes the front kind of short.
Williams' chance to complete a three-point play.
Brent, as I said, the zone is very short out front now, which helps the passing lanes, particularly if you're going to go inside, now that McMillan is sitting down. So I think Arizona has a hard time playing that 2-3 zone with Lofton and Kerr out front against a tall North Carolina ball club, especially when a guy like Bucknell steps out.
Carolina was beaten 6 times this year, half of that amount by Duke.
And with the exception of that unbelievable upset by Wake Forest, they have been beaten only by tough teams.
Temple and Vanderbilt, the other two. Elliott trying to create. Taken off by J.R. Reed. Now Lebo. Watch how many of the Carolina players touch the ball each time they come down the floor. They've already had 4 of them. Now J.R. comes out.
Now it's man-to-man. J.R. is going to look to post up inside. He's got Elliott on his back if they can just take their time with it.
And Ranzino Smith with the miss. Elliott's rebound.
Not good pace by Ranzino.
Williams gambles. Now he'll have to hurry back. Knocked away from Turner. Reed trying to come out, and Turner fouled him. So we're at the Kingdome in Seattle, Washington. This seats 65,000 for football, 60,000 for baseball, and it will hold up to 40,000 for basketball's Final Four next year, and 75,000 if Bruce Springsteen wants to travel out here and hold a concert, I'm told. Carolina leading Arizona by 3 points with 6:27, and Anthony Cook returns, even though he is playing with 2 personal fouls. And Chilcutt back off the Carolina bench, and Dean Smith will give J.R. Reed a breather. He, too, is playing with a couple of fouls. And Lute Olson talking to Tolbert. This is not the kind of a bench we have seen from Arizona the last few games. They are much more accustomed to playing on the lead.
And with their starting 5 playing most of the minutes, Brent, but because of the intensity of this game, Lute Olson's having to play that chess match with Dean Smith.
Ranzino Smith cannot nail the 3. Elliott's rebound. Cook wanted the pass, and Kerr elected to keep it on the dribble, and now Elliott glides in, and there's a blocking foul against Carolina. It's against Williams, and that's his first. They are over the limit. Arizona has one to give.
Well, as we Ramsey pointed out on Saturday, Arizona is an incredible team in regard to foul shooting. They're not only shooting 73% as a ball club, but they have made more free throws by almost 100 than their opponents have shot this year, which is a mark of a great team as far as giving the ball up and making sure your teammate gets a better shot than you have.
The knee brace that he's wearing on the left knee here, shooting the free throws against Dean Smith's Carolina team. Sean Elliott injured that knee playing soccer in high school, and the doctor said, Sean, you'll have to give up competitive sports. Sean would not have anything of that. So he underwent extensive rehabilitation as Tolbert returns for Arizona. And here he is, an All-American, a junior, determined to return to that fine school in Tucson next year at his mother's urging. College degree never hurts any young man, she says. And how true that is. Wasn't that pleasant today what happened to Danny Manning, who passed up a lot of money and stayed in school, goes back to the Final Four. Great moment for Kansas. Ranzino Smith now.
Great job by